the tangents press the string down against this wooden tangent board, just a piece of wood. You have to adjust the tangent board height relative to the height of the wheel, or adjust the wheel relative to the tangent board very carefully, so that you can get all the notes from the lowest note up to the highest note. If you have the board too low relative to the wheel, then the notes at the top, the highest pitched notes, and the notes near the wheel will be distorted, and if it's too low you won't get a continuous sound, or the notes at the lowest end will be too quiet. This is the keyboard from that instrument. You can press the keys. They're made of plywood, which is connected to a sheet of metal, which in turn is connected to this bit of wood that fixes onto the instrument. You can see the screws going through the sheet of metal. You can see that the metal is cut up to this point here. The keys are fixed onto the bit of metal by screws that go through the metal into the wood, screwing into the wood, and the bolts which the tangents are attached to. See how you can turn the tangents to adjust the pitch that the key makes. On this version, the tangents are attached to the keys with heavy bolts of 6mm diameter, which is, I think, too much and probably makes the instrument too heavy. The instrument is too heavy, it's a question of whether that's the problem or not. But you can see here that oh, let's see if we can get this. The bolt, there's the end of the bolt, goes through the tangent. Then we have a nut. Then we have two more nuts here. Two more nuts here which are tightened against each other so that they stay still on the bolt, so they don't move relative to the bolt. Then the bolt goes through the metal sheet, through the wooden key, and on the other side you've got the bolt coming through and a wing nut. Thus you can undo the wing nut, turn the bolt like that to adjust the position of the tangent and therefore the tuning of the note. The tangent itself is just a piece of plywood with a hole in it for the bolt to go through. There's the tangent itself, just a piece of plywood with a hole in it for the bolt to go through. You don't necessarily have to use plywood. Here you have the bolt with a small washer on it, goes through. And another washer. And a nut. Tighten that up. Then another two nuts. tightened against each other at the right point. A washer through the key, another washer, wing nut. The height of the tangents has to be adjusted carefully relative to the tangent board so that the keys press nicely on the strings, press the string directly onto the board without being in the wrong place so that it hits the board and not the string. The tangents near the top of the scale have to have thinner ends rather than being square, because the notes at the top of the scale are much closer together, so the tangents have to get at much closer together points. Here's another version of a keyboard with tangents. Here it's still the same in terms of having the plywood keys attached to the metal, which then attaches to some wood. On this version it's two screws that go through the wood and the metal, and on the other side they go into a second layer of wood. You can see there's that second layer, and then this screw goes straight into the tangent. Basically this screw goes straight into the tangent, so you've made a hole in the tangent that's small enough for the screw to directly connect with and engage with.